Hello, knowledge seekers. In this episode of 20-Minute Books, we delve into the fascinating intertwining of science and art with This Is Your Brain on Music by Dr. Daniel J. Levitin. A unique blend of expertise from a neuroscientist and musician, this book reveals the complex chemistry of what transpires within our minds when we experience music, exploring the enigmas of rhythm, timbre, and pitch. Dr. Levitin elucidates why tunes have such a profound sway over our emotions and memories. Author Daniel Levitin dons many hats as a psychologist, neuroscientist, musician, record producer, and best-selling author. His prominent career includes teaching as a professor of psychology and behavioral neuroscience at McGill University. Adding to his scholastic accomplishments are his rich experiences in the music industry, having worked with esteemed artists such as Chris Isaak, Steely Dan, and Stevie Wonder. This book will resonate with those keen on understanding the neurological fireworks that music ignites in their brains. It's perfect for readers eager to explore the deep connection between the cerebral and the symphonic, as well as anyone who stands at the intersection of psychology and the melodic world. Join us as we unpack the science behind the soundtrack of our lives in This Is Your Brain on Music. This is Your Brain on Music, Understanding a Human Obsession. Introduction. Uncover the symphony within. How music and the brain compose the soundtrack of our lives. Imagine wandering through the bustling streets of an ancient city, the air filled with melodies cascading from every corner, or picture a single note from a shepherd's flute carrying across the valleys, blending with the whispers of nature. Music. It cradles us in our sorrow, fuels our celebrations, and stitches together the tapestry of human experience. Yet, music's allure stretches far beyond its cultural embroidery. It nestles into the very folds of our brains. Modern neuroscience beckons us to peer inside this marvel, unraveling why these patterns of sound tug at our hearts and minds. As we explore the cerebral concert hall, we confront the enigmas. Why does melody bewitch us? Where does rhythm's magic spring forth in the mind? And what ineffable bond ties music to our most precious recollections? Indeed, music's presence within the brain is no simple serenade. It's a complex symphony that brings out the best in our cognitive ensemble. So let's attune our ears to the fascinating narrative that answers not just what makes a song soar, but how our brains become its willing instruments, crafting memories, emotions, and that irresistible allure of a musician's charm. Delve into the distinctions between chaos and chorus. When the world's cacophony engulfs us, it's often hard to discern where noise ends and music begins. Yet, there's a distinct line that separates the mundane from the melodic, a line drawn by our brain's intricate wiring. Understanding this demarcation helps us appreciate music's unique residence in our mental landscapes, inviting us to decipher how a simple vibration in the air becomes an orchestral opus within our heads. Feel the beat, unraveling the groove that gets us moving. There's an undeniable force in music that sets our toes tapping and our hearts racing. The groove. It's an elemental part of music's charm, a rhythmic invitation that our brains can hardly resist. But what is it about those infectious beats that makes them so irresistible? As we explore the neural mechanics behind a catchy groove, we gain insight into music's potent ability to move us, literally and figuratively. The melody of memory, how tunes become time machines. Sometimes, all it takes is a few notes of a long-forgotten song to transport us back to moments hidden in the recesses of memory. It's as if each melody carries with it a key to our past. In tracing the pathways between sound and memory, we uncover how music becomes interwoven with our life's narrative, crafting a soundtrack that revives emotions and experiences with each replay. Get ready to plug into the science behind the symphony as we delve deeper into understanding why these sequences of sounds resonate so profoundly within us, and how our brain turns mere notes into an echo of the soul. Part 1. the alchemy of sound, crafting music from the elements of harmony. What beats at the heart of music? This is a question that echoes through the ages, as varied as the definitions of music itself. Some revere the grandeur of a classical symphony, while others find true artistry in the hip sways of Elvis or the moonwalk of Michael Jackson. But beneath the opinions and genres lies a universal blueprint, a recipe for melody that transcends cultural lines. Music, in its essence, is an intentional fusion of sonic elements, a contrast to the haphazard cacophony we call noise. It's the craft of weaving together fundamental building blocks to shape an experience that speaks, no, sings, to the soul. Let's begin with pitch, the identity of each note as it dances up and down the scale. Picture a child singing Mary Had a Little Lamb. It's the pitch that wanders, ushering in each familiar note. Then there's rhythm, the heartbeat of a tune, revealed in every pulsing measure, just as in the constant notes of the Beach Boys' Barbara Ann. The pace at which music moves us comes next, tempo. It's the speedometer of sound, governing the urgency or the laziness in a song's stride. And let's not forget contour, the architect of melody's shape, carving peaks and valleys in a sonic landscape. Timbre brings color to music, deftly distinguishing a piano's warmth from a violin's yearning cry even when they share the same note. Loudness, the force behind each vibration, reaches out to stir the curtains of our perception. And in comes reverberation, the wizard of space, painting aural illusions of cavernous halls or intimate whispers. If we gather these elements and intertwine them with purpose, they ascend beyond their individuality. Together, they forge melodies, the vessels of our musical journey. It's here that we don't just see music. We feel it as a succession of tones, not merely an auditory perception, but stories in audible form. Part 2. The Evolutionary Encore. Was music humanity's first language? Imagine peering into the depths of human history, asking why the rhythmic chants and haunting melodies of our ancestors first filled the air. What sparked this universal language of music, and does it have a place in the evolutionary story of our species? There are those few who step out of the chorus, like cognitive scientist Steven Pinker, who views music as a delightful accident, a cultural frill born of language's mechanisms. He pictures music as a dessert on life's menu, sweet, indulgent, but hardly essential. For individuals in this camp, music is about pleasure, not purpose, imagining a world where, should music vanish, the march of life would persist unfazed. Yet, wade into the consensus of music theorists and a different symphony emerges. The belief here resounds loudly. Music has evolutionary roots, deeply planted in the soils of human advancement. It's not just ornamental, but foundational, with cognitive psychologists lending their voices to the idea that music sculpted our mental faculties long before spoken words. Consider the proposition that music led the dance, setting the stage for speech. Our pre-human forebears, it seems, might have orchestrated their communicative skills through musical interludes. The parallels between music and language, rhythm, tone, the artful pause, suggest a shared lineage, a duet of development where music choreographed the fine motor movements speech would later demand. Charles Darwin himself pondered this evolutionary ballet over a century ago, seeing music as a peacock's tail in human form, a siren's song heralding genetic and reproductive prowess. Just as a peacock fans its feathers, so might a skilled musician flaunt their vitality and attractiveness through resonant vocals and rhythmic grace. Musical ability might have twirled its way into our favor by signaling surplus. The leisure to compose a melody hints at abundance of resources and a secure hearth. Indeed, the beat of the drum and the strings strum likely resonated with promises of biological vigor and desirable genes. Whether the fruit of evolution's labor or an auditory aphrodisiac, Music's roots in our species run deep. It's now time to explore the effects of this heritage, to understand how the concert of life's evolution plays out in the concert halls of our minds. Part 3. The Cerebral Symphony, How the Brain Orchestrates Music's Magic. As we embark on a journey into the mind's music room, contemporary science serves as our guide, offering glimpses into the cerebral choreography of sound. Our advanced tools of neuroimaging and neuropsychology have now unfurled the brain's musical map in stunning detail. So, how does our brain translate the quivering of air molecules into the thrills of a melody? Imagine music as a dynamic traveler, touching every corner of the brain's vast territory. The pitch that anchors a harmony, the tempo marking time's passage, the timbre coloring each note. These qualities are sifted and assembled by specialized regions like pieces of a sonic puzzle. When a note strikes our eardrums, it embarks on a neural dance. The first to join are the brain's primal sections, the subcortical structures. They are the ancient choreographers of emotion and the architects of movement, primed to respond to music's call. But the dance grows. The auditory cortices on either side of the brain step in, tuning in to the contours and cadences of sound, laying down the carpet for the memory centers to take the stage. The hippocampus and its network lend depth to the music, entwining what we hear with what we've heard before, a symphony of recall. As the music flows, more evolved brain areas involved in planning and inhibition bring their rhythm to the ensemble. Here the tapestry becomes richer. The basic elements of music, now processed and understood, merge into a lively, integrated narrative. Contrary to a machine's linear calculations, the brain employs a parallel processing marvel. It deciphers pitch and locates the sound's origin simultaneously, as though the auditory system conducts multiple musical sections all at once, producing a coherent orchestral performance. In effect, the mind's processes draw forth the micro-elements of music and weave them into a cogent story, fostering an intimate concert within. The marvel is this: our brains don't merely hear music, they mastermind an intricate ballet where every neural ensemble performs in exquisite harmony. Part 4. The Maestro's Mind Game. Composing the dance between expectation and surprise. Have you ever found yourself unexpectedly moved during a wedding ceremony? The stirring of emotions almost synchronized with the swell of music? It isn't a coincidence. Our emotional response to music is deeply intertwined with the brain's talent for prediction, laying bare the secret to why some tunes tug at our heartstrings while others leave us cold. A composer's mastery lies in their ability to play the delicate instrument of our expectations. They pen melodies that whisper predictions to our subconscious, only to decide in the next breath whether to fulfill or subvert them. Consider the traditional wedding march, Here Comes the Bride. It's not just notes on a page. It's a crafted emotional journey. The composer waves a baton over our anticipations, commanding when to swell the heart and when to leave the soul hanging. Music is a canvas where expectation is painted in multiple hues. The electric blues, for example, teases us with rhythmic momentum, a crescendo that promises climax but then halts, leaving the vocals or a wailing guitar to carry the torch. It's the pause that sharpens our yearning, the silence that makes us hang on every note. Melody, too, is a composer's chessboard. The sly, deceptive cadence plays its game. We are coaxed down a familiar path, chord after chord, until suddenly the path veers. An unanticipated chord spills into our ears, leaving us in suspense, unfulfilled yet somehow more alive. It's the pull of the classic compositions, like the striking arc of Over the Rainbow, that reveals this play of expectations. The leap from the first note to the second sets our spirits racing, a leap into the unknown. But there is intent behind the jump. It guides us back to the comforting fold of the opening notes, all the while keeping tension aloft, a kite in the winds of anticipation. Such is the composer's craft, a finely tuned balancing act where music becomes a matter of pacing expectations, neither overly predictable nor chaotically sporadic. And it's through this artful dance of what we foresee and what surprises us that music, in all its glory, has the power to move us beyond words. Part 5. Music, the key to unlocking the vault of memories. Almost everyone has an anthem of yesteryear that, when played, propels them back to an earlier chapter of life. A singular note can fling open the doors of recollection, flooding us with the vivid textures of our past. But what is it about music that makes it such a potent catalyst for memory? How do melodies manage to excavate emotions, scents, and scenes that we thought were long gone? It turns out that songs serve as mnemonic devices, potent keys crafted by our brain's own intricate locksmithing. A piece of music is more than a sequence of sounds. It is an encoded sensory experience that intertwines perception and remembrance. When we hear a familiar tune, it's as though the brain performs a remarkable feat. It cues up an abstracted essence of the song that lingers in our neural networks. This abstract, akin to an auditory fingerprint, can be summoned forth even if the pitch or tempo of the song has shifted since we last heard it. The imprint of a melody on our brain is durable, ready to ignite at the slightest auditory provocation. As revealed by brainwave studies, there's an astonishing similarity between the cerebral patterns that emerge when we listen to music and when we merely envision it. That is to say, the act of perceiving music and the act of recalling it choreograph the same neural dance troupe. Within this dance lies the multiple trace memory model, a concept suggesting that our brains don't just file away the gist of a song, they preserve rich, detailed records of the music and the moments it encapsulates. So the next time an old familiar tune drifts through the airwaves and you're whisked back to bygone days, know that it is your brain's wondrous archiving system at play, unlocking a wealth of stored sensations and stories with the precision of a beautifully composed melody. Part 6. The Rhythm of Emotion. How Groove Captivates the Brain. Dive into the essence of music that gets you nodding, swaying, and tapping your feet. Welcome to the world of groove. It's the element in music that transforms a simple beat into a compelling force that propels us, almost instinctively, into motion. Groove is the art of sculpting the beat, a blend of timing and texture that breathes vitality into rhythm. It's not just about precision. The most magnetic grooves are those that imbue a human touch, where a drummer might nudge the tempo ever so slightly, an echo of the track's emotional life. It's the way the drum's heartbeat accelerates or the bass line lingers that gives music its living pulse, its ability to breathe. But such is the chemistry of music and movement that it begs the question, why does groove resonate so profoundly within us? The answer lies within the neural fabric of our brains, woven through our evolutionary history. In an extraordinary interplay, the brain's cerebellum, tasked with the coordination of movement, doubles as a conductor for our emotional reactions to music. This intricacy was illuminated in studies that revealed the cerebellum's activation, not only when individuals enjoyed music, but also when they tapped out a rhythm. The partnership between our internal metronome and our emotional landscape perhaps has its roots in survival. In times when primeval drums of danger sounded, take, for instance, the roar of a lion, our emotions weren't just feelings, they were signals for urgent action. Fear would course through us, compelling our limbs to action, a vestige of the past where the quickness of our response could mean the difference between life and death. Thus, the regions of our brain that stir us emotionally are intrinsically tied to those that prompt us to move. Groove, then, is the key that unlocks a primal dance, a symbiosis where music's rhythm is felt not just as sound, but as an emotive force, driving our bodies and stirring our souls. Part 7. The duet of practice and genetics in shaping musical maestros. Wander through the memories of childhood music classes and consider this, amongst the plucky strings and hesitant keys. What was it that whisked some towards grand stages, while others left their instruments to gather dust? The quest for musical excellence, as it turns out, plays out at the crossroads of rigorous practice and the invisible threads of our genetic tapestry. A common refrain sung by research is that the birth of expertise is largely a labor of dedicated practice. Ready to reach the zenith of musical prowess? Set your metronome to the tune of 10,000 hours. Clocking in such an odyssey of practice is what elevates musicians to join the symphony of the world's finest. Surveys peering behind the conservatory curtains illustrate this point well. Teachers may whisper of natural talent, but when the curtain rises years later, it's clear that those with the most applause are the ones who have courted their craft the longest. In music, as in all pursuits, time is the crucible where skill is forged. Yet, just as every pianissimo plays, in contrast to fortissimo, there's another side. Genetic predispositions play first chair in this ensemble as well. A basketball player with towering height has an advantage, as does a pianist born with hands that can effortlessly span the instrument's breadth. Half of the melody of expertise, scientists speculate, is composed by our genes. They influence aspects like perseverance and coordination, ingraining some with a rhythm for resilience or the grace for precise motion. The remaining score is written by our environment, each note a different life experience, from the conscious decisions we make to the nourishment we receive before we could even draw breath. The totality of these influences, genetic and environmental, intertwines, playing out in a lifelong performance that dictates whether the seeds of potential bloom into full artistic expression. In summary, the concerto of musical expertise is not a solo. It's a complex harmony between the persistent beat of practice and the inherited chords of our biology, creating a unique symphony in each aspiring musician. Part 8, the soundtrack of familiarity. How early exposure tunes our musical tastes. Think back to your earliest memories woven with music. Was it the gentle lullaby your parents hummed, or perhaps the rhythmic drumming of a heartbeat? It turns out our musical journey begins even before we take our first breath, within the symphonic womb that cradles us. Studies have revealed a remarkable phenomenon. The music that washes over us in utero becomes the prelude to our preferences later in life. Pregnant mothers who serenaded their growing infants with a particular melody unknowingly set the stage for a lifelong encore. Babies, as young as 1 year, have displayed a yearning for the melodies they bathed in before birth, showcasing the profound impact of prenatal soundscapes on our future tastes. As we step out into the world, wielding the power of choice, familiarity continues to conduct our musical selections. The rhythms and melodies we select often strike a balance between the tedious and the chaotic. There exists an intricate interplay between predictability and novelty, where songs that teeter too far into the realms of complexity alienate us, and those too simple lose their luster, fading into the mundane. The songs we choose resonate with the echoes of our personal histories, a repertoire of positive encounters. The chords that once comforted us, or the tempos that elevated our spirits, become the familiar harmonies we seek, finding solace in the sounds that echo our cherished moments. Safety, too, is a silent melody in our choices. To immerse oneself in music is to open one's innermost self to an intangible force, to allow the vibrations of a stranger's composition to resonate within our sanctuaries of thought and feeling. In essence, the music we invite into our lives is not just a collection of artful noises. It's a tapestry woven from threads of memory, comfort, and the desire for harmony that is as intimately familiar as it is universally shared. Final summary. Music, that universal whisper that resonates through time and culture, is more than a cultural backdrop. It's a neural masterpiece painted across the canvas of our brains. It commands a performance that engages nearly every region of cognition, from memory to emotion, suggesting that our capacity for music may have paved the path for language in our ancient ancestors. This complex cerebral concert reveals music's power to uncover the hidden archives of our memory, unlocking emotions and narratives entwined with each note. It can lull us into tranquility or stir a well of tears, a testament to its profound psychological reach. As we ponder the evolutionary orchestration of music, it becomes clear that the symphony it creates is not just heard, it's deeply woven into the very essence of our being, from the prenatal echoes to the familiar tunes that shape our individual identities. Music is a mirror of the human experience, an art form that resonates with the multifaceted dimensions of our minds. Thank you for joining me today on this journey of learning and discovery as we explored the insights of another thought-provoking book in our growing library of knowledge. If you've enjoyed our time together, please take a moment to follow our podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and share 20-minute books with other knowledge seekers. Your support truly means a lot. Don't forget to join me again in the next episode, where we will delve into another enriching book. Until then, happy reading and happy listening.